You're an adult now. You're not getting a participation trophy for being a father. You have to earn that title. You need to lead. Stop searching for pats on the back and appreciation for doing the thing that's required of all men. You need to lead. I grew up in a family of 11 people in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. And there were laughs, fights, screams, joy, laughter, anger, all those things at the dinner table. Everyone was interacting the entire time. That's my memory of meals. What are your kids' memories of meals going to be? Don't be the family who's sitting at the table and everyone's staring at a screen. It's horrible for you. It's horrible for your marriage. You are destroying your relationship with your wife and kids, and it's doing unimaginable damage to your kids. What world are you giving your kids? Hey everyone, welcome to the Rising Father Podcast. I'm Chris Rodak. Today I want to talk about something that I really just started thinking about this morning with the use of AI. I use AI. There's a lot of technology coming out, and for this podcast, I don't have bullet points. I don't have preformed thoughts, which I sometimes do. If I've got a specific message that I want to deliver, or a specific lesson, or an outline, or, something really tangible you can sink your teeth into and come away with a game plan. But this is going to be more me speaking off the cuff and just through some thoughts like I do. But I want to talk about discipline and technology, phone use, AI, and your ability to handle those things, my ability to handle those things, and so we can think about it. This is the first time ever that any generation of people have been tested with this amount of power. Like Spider-Man says, or his uncle said, with great power comes great responsibility. It seems like every single month now, there's a new massive leap in technology and AI or virtual reality or something. We went on vacation last week, and one of my cousins brought that Meta Quest virtual reality thing, which was amazing. Nathan used it. He loved it. He's like, Dad, I'm going to save up my money and buy one. We're not going to let him have that or other things. I just don't want him to be consumed by it. Whenever I was little, I didn't have those temptations. I had base video games, like the Nintendo 64 was a massive thing when I was little. James Bond, GoldenEye. We played that game for hours. We had the little handheld Nintendo things, whatever, the Game Boys. I remember my brothers getting Game Boys and collecting the games. And that was my style. We went over to my grandparents' house, and for the very first time, I remember seeing an Atari. And that was before we had any video game systems, so that's a really early memory. I'm 38 now. So when I went over and saw their Atari, that was old for the time. It's not like I'm 100 years old. But they had an old Atari in their attic. And we would sleep up there, and sometimes we would play Pong and these little games. And I remember, before we had any video games, looking at that one and be like, oh, this is pretty cool. I wish we had. I always was saying, I wish we had these things. I wish we had these things. And as I'm getting older, and as insane technology is being thrust upon us, it feels like it's just a fire hydrant in our face and we have no control over it. It's scary. And just like with tobacco companies, we found out decades, like a century later, the insane damage that was being done. I think we're going to find out 50, 60 years from now the insane damage that was done. And generations after us, they're going to have obvious and logical regulations and rules and cultural standards they live by that we are learning right now. They are going to have obvious rules that they live by, cultural norms that we are stumbling into right now. Like through this experiment, we are the guinea pigs, and our children and their children will look back at us and be like, well, why the heck did they do that? You think back to whenever you were younger. And for me, I remember going into restaurants and there being like everyone was smoking. That's what I remember. I remember going into restaurants and you could just see smoke everywhere. Or there would be one side of the restaurant was smoke free, the other side you could smoke, and it made zero difference, obviously, because if you smoked on the left side, they had like a little glass barrier between the two sides, and the top was open, so you just get covered in smoke everywhere. And you look back on that, like Nathan and Lauren. I haven't even known if I told them about that, but if I told them about that, they'd be like, "What the heck? Why would anyone do that? That's so stupid." But at the time, you're in a bubble. You don't know any better. You think that's normal. So everything with technology we're doing right now, we think it's normal. Some of us are scared. Some of us are just embracing it. But with anything that we do, any new thing we have, we must have discipline to be able to use it, or it will ruin us. I don't care where we are in our journey of different things that we're taking. It doesn't matter. Whenever cigarettes became popular, if people had discipline, they weren't smoking 3 packs a day. Whenever people with alcohol, if they have discipline, they can have 1 drink, 2 drinks when they're out on a date with their wife. They don't have a bottle, every week. Or, I remember I talked to multiple guys who struggle with their discipline, and they'll tell me, I'm not that bad. I only have 6 drinks a night. To me, that's like, I wouldn't be able to function. I would go homeless if I was having 6 drinks a night. I'd be divorced. I'd be broke. I'd be homeless. And I'd be in jail if I was having 6 drinks a night. But for them, it's like, yeah, I'm not that bad. No. And a lack of discipline infects every single area of your life. If you cannot get out of bed in the morning, you're not going to be able to control yourself with food, with alcohol, with technology. You've got things you want to do in your business, in your life, and you find yourself just hours a day scrolling YouTube and social media. And in the back of your head, you're saying, man, I know I shouldn't be doing this. I know I should be more focused right now, and you just can't stop yourself. That's where discipline is needed. It doesn't matter where in life you find yourself. You need discipline to control what you're going to use. So when every single month we've got this new amazing technological feature, you need to ask yourself, am I living a disciplined life right now? And if it's no, should I be tempting myself with this new amazing thing, with this new great thing that could consume me, that could sweep me into a wormhole? Like I went into the Apple store a couple months ago and tried the Apple Vision Pro, which is a virtual reality thing. It's different than a lot of the other virtual reality things. It's like a whole headset goes on you. It's unbelievable. It's the most crystal clear definition I've ever seen. You put it on, they take you like out to the Arctic, then to the beach. There is this one scene where you're at the beach and this lady in a bikini like jumps in front of you. And I was like, this is going to be a problem for some people. She looked so realistic. Like, not like you're watching a movie. It looked like super, super realistic. Beautiful lady in a bikini right in front of you. And immediately I thought, like, this, and she was like talking in a seductive voice, obviously going after a certain audience. And I was thinking, this is going to be a massive, massive problem for people who are already addicted to porn, who are already suffering with sex addiction. So just that type of discipline problem. I talk to those guys all the time. They want to free themselves from it. They feel like they're being held down, like they don't have control of their life. And really they don't. They're controlled by physical impulses. They're controlled by these chemical urges that they just can't control. And whenever you're introduced to something that's even more powerful, what can you do? If you can't control yourself in low pressure situations, in low influence and low temptation situations, How are you going to control yourself in high pressure, high temptation situations? Like if you can't stop yourself from on your phone looking at porn or scrolling Instagram for babes, when you told yourself you wouldn't, you told yourself that it's the wrong thing to do, and you're willing to negotiate and break that promise to look at it on a cell phone, how would you ever stop yourself when you have a crystal clear virtual reality woman in front of you? If you can't stop yourself now, you have no hope to do it when the temptation is even greater. The guy that can control himself is the guy who has true discipline. Not the one who talks about it, but the one who really has true discipline and practices it every single day. And that's why we talk about it so much. That's why I talk about it so much, because for me in my life, I understood that that was the thing that was holding me back. Emotionally, with my income, with every part of my life, it was a lack of discipline. And until I finally figured out how to change that, I was constantly spinning my wheels. And that is just one version of the temptation. There's a million other temptations, right? I was talking about sex addiction and porn and that kind of temptation. There's the temptation of food. There's the temptation of everything, of spending money, of gossiping, of every temptation you can think of it. To get rid of it and to deal with it and to move past it, to set yourself free from it, you need discipline. And the more technology we're given, the more you need discipline. For every new great piece of technology we are given, you need another level of discipline. To go from an Atari to an Apple Vision Pro, to be able to control yourself, you need far greater discipline. To go from, I was watching a YouTube video this morning on AI, which kind of got me thinking about it. To go from Quizlet, which some people had back in the day at school, like if you wanted to cheat, you used a Quizlet, to now ChatGPT doing everything for you. If you couldn't control yourself with the Quizlet, you're definitely not going to be able to control yourself with ChatGPT, who can do everything for you. I can only imagine the temptation that our kids are going through right now in high school and in college. Like our kids don't have cell phones. They've got a Nintendo Switch, but we've got regulations on when they can play and how long. They can watch TV, same thing, rules. But they still go to school, and they have iPads they use there. My son's going to middle school next year. We go to high school, and he's going to be introduced to a lot of things. And he's going to be tempted in ways that I was never tempted before, especially with cheating, with social media. We didn't have Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok when I was in school. We didn't have that. No one had cell phones when I was in high school. It was only until I was in college that people started to get cell phones. And what we're doing to our kids and what we're thrusting upon them is an unprecedented level of temptation we're expecting them to deal with. When if we were put in that situation, would we succeed? If you are somebody who promises yourself that you're going to start working out and you constantly say tomorrow, Monday, next Monday, after this vacation, next year, you can't even do that. Are you asking your kids to survive in a world full of unimaginable temptation that could just steal their brains? You're expecting them to be disciplined whenever you can't get yourself to the gym? Why are we doing that? So I'm talking about this so we can shift our perspective and understand the demands we're putting on our kids. Like, we're expecting them to be disciplined in a world we never were tested with. We were never tested with the temptations our kids have. We never had to battle AI. We never had to battle cell phones. We never had to battle social media. Maybe you did for part of your life. but not in the way that the kids are right now. Like, imagine if you were in college, and I was thinking about this morning. I was a music major. I went to school for saxophone. And imagine being in college and a major for one specific class or for one specific major. And then you've got these gen eds that you don't have to take or that don't really apply to you. You have to take them, but they don't really apply to what you're going to do and get paid for. The temptation to use AI to complete everything would be immense. And then once you get into the habit of using it, you understand how easy it is to use it, and it takes that strain away from you. You're like, well, I procrastinated. Class starts in 1 hour and this assignment's due. I can either get an F or I can just use ChatGPT and it can make me an A+ paper in the next 2 minutes. You're going to do that. The temptation is irresistible. It's so strong. We never had to deal with it. We were just screwed. If you didn't do your work and you procrastinated and you didn't have time to complete it, you just turned in some crap work, or you told the teacher, or you lied to the teacher, so my dog ate it or something, or you just fessed up to it. You had real life consequences that you were forced to be faced with. You felt shame, you felt regret, you felt remorse for your actions. And because of that, the next test you prepped harder for. You said, I don't want to feel that again. I don't want to be embarrassed again. I don't want to be known as that person. I don't want that reputation anymore. So I'm going to prep harder. And the consequences of being unprepared forced you to be more prepared the next time. But now you're unprepared. You just run that prompt through ChatGPT and it has it ready for you. So you didn't learn the lesson of being unprepared, which is the most important lesson. You didn't learn the lesson of procrastination. And then you didn't learn the lesson of the skills it takes to write the paper, struggling, failing. So you missed out on the entire learning process of the skill, the knowledge, emotional control, willpower, discipline, consistency. What are you doing? Who are we creating? I don't know. And I feel like 50 years from now, we're just going to wake up and be like, what did we do? What did we do to our kids? We're going to be 80, 90 years old, and we're going to have our kids and grandkids. And they'd be like, what did you do to me, Dad? Like, why did you let me become brainwashed as a child? You know, I see parents at restaurants, two parents both staring at their cell phones, not talking to their family, two kids sitting across from them with headphones on and iPads staring at their iPads. And I don't care because I can already read the fake comments that I've seen on posts. Yeah, but my kid has. Yeah, but I don't care. There are millions of parents in your situation who are not doing that. I was a teacher. I've taught thousands of kids. They've had every problem you can imagine. I've interacted with thousands of adults and parents. They've had every problem you can imagine. There's disciplined people and undisciplined people. That is it. Yeah, but I have ADHD. Don't care. I know thousands of people with ADHD who are disciplined. Yeah, but my kid has this problem. I don't care. I know 10 times the amount of people who have the same problem but are choosing a different path. Don't make an excuse. It's disciplined or undisciplined. So I'll see these parents staring at their cell phone, not talking. Two kids, headphones on, staring at iPads, not talking. And what the hell kind of world are these kids living in? I feel so bad for them. Yeah, but the dad went through a hard day. I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, but that's a lot of responsibility. Yes, it is. You're an adult now. You're not getting a participation trophy for being a father. You have to earn it. You have to earn that title. You need to lead. stop searching for pats on the back and appreciation for doing the thing that's required of all men. You need to lead. If your family's doing that, you need to stop. Don't be the family who's sitting at the table and everyone's staring at a screen. It's horrible for you. It's horrible for your marriage. You are destroying your relationship with your wife and kids, and it's doing unimaginable damage to your kids. I can't imagine that. Like, I grew up in a family of 11 people in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, and we had just giant meals at the table. The only piece of technology we had was a wired phone, one wired phone, like a ring, the old school ring phone. We had a old school TV that got like 10 channels. And there were laughs, fights, screams, joy, laughter, anger, all those things at the dinner table. Everyone was interacting the entire time. That's my memory of meals. What are your kids' memories of meals going to be? Is it that, or is it silence? And your kids, assuming that this is the way the world is because their parents are showing them this is the way the world is, not knowing that their parents are choosing to give them this world, and not knowing their parents could be choosing to give them a different world. What world are you giving your kids? How are you being disciplined with technology? How are you unleashing technology on your kids? If you are not disciplined yourself, if you can't stop yourself from having a drink, if you can't stop yourself from eating fast food, if you can't stop yourself from not going to the gym, how in the hell are you expecting your kids to be disciplined when their own parents can't be disciplined with themselves? And then you hear parents say, well, my kid, he's on the iPad all the time. Okay, who are his parents? My kid's on the iPad all the time, I just can't get him off. And the kid would say, my dad's on his cell phone all the time, he never looks at me. Where's he learning it from? They don't just take your last name, they take your level of discipline, your integrity. You break promises to yourself, your kids are going to break promises to themselves. And every new level of technology that comes out will require a far greater level of discipline to use in a healthy way. I have Gemini, that's my AI that I use. And it can do everything in the world. You know, right? Just came out today, I got a notification that says, we can create a video for you with music. Just put in a prompt. I will use it to analyze large amounts of data that would take me like a month. So I'll say, all right, go through these 100 transcripts of mine and find this material I'm looking for, and it will do that. Great. If I wanted to, it could do every single thing for me. It could write every caption, write every script, write every single thing I do. It could just take over. But then it would steal the life from me. It would steal the creativity from me. And my ability to think, my ability to create, and my problem-solving ability would be destroyed. But the temptation is there. Luckily, I've built my discipline to the point where I'm not right now at risk of giving my life up to AI. But I would imagine that there are people who can't get out of bed when the alarm goes off, can't control what they're eating, can't control what they're drinking, can't control what they say, can't control what they look at. And now they have, technology available to them with the power of a god that they can control. What is their life like? If you're a guy who can't even get himself out of the bed in the morning, what is AI doing to you? It's got this insane power, but no control over yourself. That guy is going to be destroyed. That guy is, technology will destroy that guy. And then next year, another thing's going to come out that's even better. You need another level of discipline to be able to use that thing in a healthy way, that guy will be further destroyed. Until he develops his self-discipline, he will continue to crumble and be further and further left behind in this world. So for my kids, I am really focused on building, which I guess I'll call old world skills, pre-technology skills, such as being frustrated and working through it anyway. Example, my son yesterday, me and him were changing the oil in our lawnmower. And we got this new lawnmower because he started a lawn mowing business on our street, needed the oil changed. And I was like, all right, let's go through the whole process of finding out how to do this. So we used technology in a disciplined way. And then I said, no, now you're forced to go through the whole process. So we used YouTube and we looked up the specific model and found an instructional video on how to do it. Said, okay, this is okay. Like, we're going to find out how to do it. So pulled up YouTube, found the video on how to do it, watched it, went out, and he had to use ratchets, wrenches, screwdrivers, all these things that he's used occasionally. But I was like, all right, this time I'm going to make him do it. Like, I'm not going to take over, rescue him from the frustration. Because when you're dealing with little machines like lawnmowers and weed whackers, and there's a lot of little areas that are hard to get into. You have to, like, there was a part where we had to unscrew this, or we had to loosen this bolt, but you couldn't see it. So he had to use his left hand to feel the hole and use his right hand with the wrench. And we were out there for an hour and a half. I could have completed it in 10 minutes. But I wanted him to learn the discipline and skill of not quitting, of being frustrated and doing the thing anyway. So he tried, he failed, he tried, he failed, he tried, he failed. He started tearing up. He said he wanted to quit. I said, but this is your business. What if you were an adult and you had to make money for your family and you needed this lawnmower to work? Would you just quit? And he's like, no. And he kept on working. Tried, failed, tried, failed. And then he started to get better. And then he started to get better at it. So we watched the YouTube video, how to do it. Now this is like 70 minutes into the process of trying and failing. He's getting oil all over his hands and dirt, and he's getting scrapes on his knees. It's hot outside. He wanted to quit over and over and over again. But then he started to finally get it. He started to finally learn those real skills that are only developed after time spent in horrible conditions. Like, I remember working on my first cars that I got. My dad couldn't come help me, and it was just me by myself, knowing nothing, looking at manuals and figuring out how to use these tools. And until you actually use those tools, you don't develop the coordination and skills that you need. So I wanted him to learn how to fix the mower. But the most important lesson was frustration. It was, you keep on going when you're frustrated. When you want to quit, when you're frustrated, you keep on going. It's hard, but you keep on going. You just don't stop. And that is the willpower that I wanted him to learn in that lesson. Now I got to repeat that lesson 1,000 times before he leaves me. I want to give him that superpower of willpower and discipline before he leaves me. So I need to demonstrate that, but I also need to put him into situations where he can struggle and not give up, not rescue him because he wants to give up. If I constantly rescue my kids, I'm handicapping them for the rest of their life. Because they're not going to be with me all the time. I'm going to die at some point. And if they're used to their parents rescuing them, or they're used to AI saving them, they're used to everybody thinking and working for them, then I've basically created a baby who's capable of nothing. And I've abdicated my responsibility as a father. My job isn't to give them everything so they are capable of nothing. My job is to put them into situations where they can learn to be capable of everything so they can succeed when they leave me. That's what I got for you today. something I wanted to talk about. And I'll probably publish it. I have a couple other podcasts ready to go, but I'll probably put this one out earlier because I feel more strongly about this one. Curious what you guys think. Feel free to message me. A bunch of people have been reaching out to me on Instagram. That's great. You can reach out to me on WhatsApp. You can send me an email, and we can chat. Thank you.